Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Crypto Leviathan podcast. I'm your host, Dalibor. This is my co-host, Andrew. Welcome to the show. And today we have a special guest named Long Do. So Long, you want to introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi everyone, I'm Long, also known as Whale Drop on Twitter. I am a game director at Virtually Human. I'm a founder of a game that specializes in play and earn on the Web3, specializes in wildlife conservation, and also really cool on-chain blockchain concepts.
That's awesome. So what actually got you into this space? I always like to start off, what's your background and what was your passion to, actually develop this startup?
Sure. So from a young age, I've always just kind of been a game addict. Grew up playing games like on Super Nintendo with my cousins. And from an early age, I just knew that I wanted to be in gaming. I pretty much went up into school studying computer science and knew that this is the career path I wanted to get into. I also played a lot of competitive video games. I played StarCraft professionally. Hearthstone was an early Twitch partner. So everything in the gaming esports space, I was really obsessed about. I kind of went into a more traditional SaaS and technological fields. I was a CTO of an AR company. But when Web3 gaming came about, I saw a big opportunity, made kind of a step down to learn more about blockchain and decided that, this is where I think the most opportunity is, and just went full throttle on Web3 gaming.
That's awesome. So your current company, it's called, the game they're creating is called Anomura, right? I'm getting that right?
Yeah, Anomura.
Anomura, definitely. So can you explain to us how it works, like the game? Heck, I know I've looked at the site, it's like kind of like the Super Mario graphics from the earlier days. It seems like kind of a retro game. So I'd love to learn more about it.
Yeah, so what sets Anomura apart from a lot of the Web3 games is it's more of a game than anything else that's on the currently in Web3. So imagine a game that you download from Steam or got from the App Store. It's going to be very seamless. You're not going to even know that there's blockchain elements. It's very strategic. So what you do is like you're in an auto battler loop. If you're familiar with the genre, there's like plenty of titles that are very popular on the stores. And your character kind of fights and battles, and you're getting a lot of really cool equipment. If you played RPGs before, like Diablo, you'll be very familiar with acquiring loot, getting really cool equipment, stylize and customize your hero. That's the type of game that Anomura is like.
Can you talk a little bit about the technology? Because in this, like you've probably heard of Axie Infinity. I think everyone has in this crypto gaming space, and that pretty much put a bad stain on this gaming space because their marketplace and their economy crashed. So I asked this to every gaming NFT/company is what makes you different from them, and how do you have controls or systems set up to ensure that doesn't happen what happened to Axie Infinity?
Sure. So our company, Virtually Human, we created a really early game called Zed-Run. Zed-Run is a horse racing game, and they were kind of innovating stuff on NFTs even before NFTs became a thing. So this was like 2017, 2018, when no one knew what they were. We were kind of like building during a bear market at the time. And people were just thinking like NFTs are just pictures, but Zed-Run did something very creative, which is like allow people to race these horses and breed these horses. It became more of an interactive and immersive experience. So they're not afraid to be very innovative. I think one of the problems with Axies is that we focus so much on earning investments that it became less of a game. So Anomura focuses on being a game before being blockchain, less of an investment vehicle. So more so like you're being rewarded with the time you play because it's really fun. I think that's like the big concept that Axies really lacked. It became kind of like a grind, scholarship model, which led a lot of people to be recruited into the game. Everyone was kind of playing it to make a living, which I think was not sustainable. Our focus is on playing. You play because it's fun. Earning is kind of secondary to that. Earning is cool. I remember when I was playing Diablo and I found my first rare loot. It was worth a lot of money. I thought that was really cool. It is worth a lot of money because you spent your time like in this game and it's really cool to you because it's very special to you. So that's kind of where Anomura focuses on, just being a very special experience for yourself and be really rewarding as a game itself.
So there is a bit of a play to earn model here. What can you tell us a little bit about like how the economics of that works?
Yeah, so Anomura focuses on more of a free to play model. What that means is like games like really popular in the stores right now, like Genshin Impact. You play, you really enjoy it. You don't need to purchase to unlock to beat the whole game. Although, like if you really like the content and you want to get more time into it, you can invest more time to invest more money to unlock new features. So you're buying more of the game experience. And it's kind of like the model that Anomura focuses on. We've seen this model really work in the free to play space. So it's kind of really new to the blockchain dynamics. As well, it's really like not up to you. Like it's up to you whether you want to earn or not. You could play this entire experience, get like free NFTs and such from the game, and still like be able to like have a complete experience and be really happy with the enjoyment you got from playing.
So the question I'm going to ask you now is, how does this incorporate the blockchain? Like what specific parts of the game like use the blockchain, and what blockchain do you use?
Yeah, so right now we're focusing on our minting experience, which is going to be on Ethereum. So we're starting off with Ethereum. We're big fans of stuff like the merge coming up. We also understand we're really focused on stuff like wildlife conservation. So we partnered up with a company called Ariel, which offsets our entire mint. What that means is like we're going to be completely carbon neutral when we start with all the offsets. In fact, we're buying even more of these offsets to contribute to stuff like planting mangrove trees in Indonesia and restoring kelp in Southern California. So we just really want to bring a different light to the crypto scene, because these are some of the things that every crypto game has to tackle. There's so much hate for games not being fun. There's so much hate on like crypto destroying the environments, that we want to be like truly a different different type of game that spins up a good type of image for crypto. Yeah, so that answered your question about being on what chain. We're going to be on Ethereum first. Another thing we're also focusing on is when you're playing the actual game, it's going to be built on Unity engine. We are focused on onboarding new customers, players, I guess, that will play this game. Will sign up without a wallet. They don't even need to know what a wallet is at the start. So we want to create a gaming experience through that way. There'll be like no transaction pop-ups. You'll be able to play, fight a boss, battle monsters, be very seamless as a game. And then if you choose to hook up your wallet, we guide you through that process. You might want to own some of the assets you get from the game. That's where blockchain comes in. And we want to be really educational about that, because there's so much like people are kind of blindly trusting right now that we don't think is right. Like we want to guide you through this process and be like kind of like educators for this new Web3 journey that you're taking.
So these assets that you're getting, they're obviously like weapons, power-ups, armor, the typical, right, in a mobile free-to-play type of game, right?
Yes, we are going to have equipment NFTs. They'll be kind of like one of the main things that's very instantly recognizable. When you mint your Anomura, this is kind of like your character. It comes out with a few of these equipments already. But if you earn, let's say, like a new shell, so our characters are hermit crabs, by the way. So shells are kind of like the big thing you want to power up. So if you get like I don't know, like you get like the shell of the Minotaur or something, that's a cool NFT you just got. You can swap it, and it changes the look of your NFT because you just equipped it. And yeah, you can flex it on OpenSea. You can do whatever you want with it.
So this is not just contained to your platform, the marketplace. You can sell it on OpenSea and other platforms, right?
Yeah, we want to also, we see that there's a lot of a big market in OpenSea right now. A lot of games, like they typically build their own marketplace. We'll also be building that with our equipments, but we also see that a lot of investors, a lot of crypto enthusiasts, they're really enjoy being on OpenSea, and then it's kind of the main marketplace to buy and sell NFTs right now.
This is a question I'm going to ask you just because I thought, how can we prevent farming, these items? Because obviously that was a thing in Axie Infinity where people just create many accounts, try to get bots to generate rewards. How will you combat that, but ensure that doesn't impact the players who are actually enjoying your game?
Yeah, so we want to be rewarding to users at scale. It'll be an interesting clan dynamics. Right now, there's a lot of hate towards people like companies like seen as guilds. I want to take you back to when guilds were kind of an MMO thing that's really cool to be in. So like, like there's this very prestigious guild. You want to join it because it's a cool guild. There's also a sense of community there. So a lot of the gameplay will be like be revolved around working with your community, setting up these clans with your teams and friends. We want to have a lot of like in-person events like that you can just chat in Discord like a regular game. So that's kind of where we're headed towards. As for like cheating and such, we're using blockchain to be more transparent, so we can recognize when things are being farmed. So we can recognize when things need balance patches. Our game is going to be played in Unity. There's a lot of games right now that on blockchain that do stuff like completely on chain, which is more exploitable. So we're creating more of like an experience where you have to like choose out these actions as you play to be more strategic. For example, in our game we have cards that drop from monsters, and you could change up the land and battle certain monsters, and you want to strategize what type of monsters I want to fight to get the most experience. So that type of stuff is very hard to bot. It's more strategic and more thinking based. So that's the type of stuff we're trying to build.
Awesome. Do you plan to use any other exchanges, or are you just going to, other net blockchains, or are you just going to stick with Ethereum for now? Because Ethereum, yes, they're going to merge, but their gas fees still are unpredictable on Ethereum. I just want your thoughts on that.
Yeah, right now we're looking into new technologies like ZK rollups to provide more transactions. Right now, a lot of games, like you fight a boss or something, and the drop happens. It takes Ethereum like 15 seconds for you to drop to show up. That's such a experience that don't want to create. So we're looking into blockchains that can speed that up. ZK rollups. There's a lot of great blockchains that we're talking to. And this game, we're thinking of doing stuff really cross-chain as well. So even though your Anomura is minted on Ethereum, imagine getting loot from like Polygon or something. And then once you equip that, your NFT on Ethereum is like updated as well. So there's some really cool ideas we're brainstorming. Also, in regards to the marketplace, we'll eventually build our own within the game itself. Our game is going to be released probably towards the end of the year. That focuses on just a prototype experience, so you can feel how strategic and in-depth there is. We want to also get a lot of feedback from the community. There are some really great tools being built for building out marketplaces in Unity engine as well that we're talking to as well. So yeah, we will definitely be moving to create more of a gaming experience within the marketplace.
So now the question around the NFTs and the exact rewards. Will you guys have control over these NFTs? Like, for example, could you blacklist certain NFTs if you found them that they were farmed? How much control do you guys retain over what you issue?
Yeah, so we will have balance patches. We want to be very transparent, so people can see like if this guy's like farmed like 100 rare items all of a sudden, we can be very suspicious about that because it's all transparent on blockchain. We want to provide the tools there just to show the transparency. We want to work with the community to provide constant updates. If you play something like League of Legends, there's like a patch like every few weeks. We want to be like that and just show like, this boss was too exploitable. We're doing this and this and this. We're also toying with the concept of creating more identity for the players. So recording your achievements in the game. We're talking to people like in regards to like gamer tags, like with like ENS or unstoppable domains. So there might be stuff like recorded badges for how far you got in the season, like how many monsters you killed, and they'll all be very transparent.
And what's your target audience since you're incorporating blockchain? I know like certain demographics, people are more comfortable with blockchain or not. And you touched on it briefly on, introducing people to the blockchain, gradually over time. But how will you bring on those people that are hesitant about blockchain when they see a blockchain in a game, they kind of get off put by it? What's your strategy for that?
Yeah, so we want to get on eventually on the app stores and such. We want to create an experience that's very free to play, which means you can come on board without knowledge of any crypto whatsoever. You can try it out. You can see that it's actually fun and very strategic. Our audience right now is a lot of the crypto enthusiasts because people have been following us on Twitter. We have a really great Discord with over 10,000 people have joined. We're teaching them about the game like nonstop. As well, like we were also teaching them about our core goals. That's like bringing back like retro video game vibes. We're also doing events like garbage day cleanups. People are submitting pictures in Discord and very engaged right now. So it'll be very kind of like a very friendly experience for everyone. But long term, we see this game being very sustainable by appealing to the mass media, the mass mainstream audience in gaming. Yeah, and just going through those traditional methods as well.
Yeah, the reason I was asking is because you adopted that retro art style, so like that makes me think that you're targeting like a older audience because games from that era. When we were young, we used to play them, so that's why I'm just checking. Like, is that your target audience?
There's a reemergence of that though. Stardew Valley is so popular, and that has like Pokemon style graphics. I'm rather fond of it too.
Yeah, it brings back nostalgia. Like, I used to play Pokemon all the time back in the day. So when I see graphics like this, I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Well, I forgot where we're. Well, I'm old. Forgot that I'm old.
Yeah, we have this retro gaming channel in our Discord. We had a contest of talking about your favorite retro game. We have had hundreds of submissions. People talking about like how they enjoyed Contra to stuff like even Asteroids. We plan on doing some partnerships with the mainstream gaming companies as well, just to show how committed we are to bringing back those nostalgic vibes and incorporating them with interoperable mechanics with blockchain.
Yeah, that sounds great. So now specifically relating to this technology, since you're using like a third-party service to mint your NFTs, I assume you're just connecting to some APIs they have and they're giving them back to you, right? That's basically how it pretty much operates.
Actually, no, we're building everything in-house. So
everything.
Yeah, our studio, we're very proud that we're not like a company like Anomura that kind of builds a lot of external teams and external games. We're an in-house team of over 100 full-time employees that are like really innovators in blockchain. I've been writing blockchain smart contracts for a long time now. I used to be a finance BSc developer advocate. So a lot of the concepts that I've been following with new NFT contracts, like I've been incorporating within Anomura. So we're busy testing right now. We have all the testnet set up. We have our contracts audited. So we're writing everything in-house and then from scratch.
That's awesome. So you have like 100 people. I would assume most of them have blockchain knowledge. It's considering that your game is pretty much blockchain based. What do you see right now as the biggest challenge for you guys to actually, bring this out to market and get people interested into this?
Yeah, so I think the one thing that we're really trying to defeat is those negative biases from the gaming industry. People had a sour taste from losing a lot of money in Axies when you're on the crypto side, as well as like game companies like just focusing on financing Web3 games of giant valuations. As a game developer, I'd feel be pissed off if I'm building this game. It's very legit and really good, and yet this blockchain game that's very shitty makes like several $1 million in investments immediately. We want to really spend our time building out a very like thought out game that has that type of experience. We also build out like 4 seasons of lore, all the attributes that we picked within our NFTs, the equipments, they're very well thought out. You can get stuff from magic to legendary items that have references to deep cultural, different cultures as well.
Yeah. So just going back to the NFT, since you're minting on Ethereum, you didn't say Polygon, otherwise I would have asked a different question. But how do you guys make enough revenue to cover the minting fees, or are the minting fees covered entirely by that service you're using?
So our NFTs will we're selling for a few $100s right now. This is just a Genesis batch. We're going to sell about 3,000. And so that kind of covers like most of the minting fees. There'll be lots of opportunities to earn NFTs like from the free to play side as well. We're thinking of doing more of a layer 2 solution to be more sustainable in that front. As well, we're thinking of the free to play model, like things like energy and such. Like like when you run out of energy in a free to play game, you might want to buy at a certain price point. We want to be targeting those price points because those make sense, and we know those work in free to play.
Yeah, makes sense. I was going to ask you this, but I think it'd be cool to play your game since you're trying to be a carbon neutral game. Is there going to be like a carbon score attached to each player, like how much carbon was used to generate these NFTs or something? That I think that'd be cool. What are your thoughts on that?
So Ariel, our partner, actually can do that.
Really?
That's how we're offsetting our mints. we'll be kind of working with them to work on more solutions like that because that'd be really innovative, and I really see that's like a big possibility. But one of the things we want to include more is more charity elements in the game. So I think that a lot of games you guys have been playing, like Pokemon, there's so many animal references to them, but yet you don't know much about those animals that are actually endangered. That's why we're building our characters off real animals, stuff like sea slugs that are like poisonous but dangerous in certain areas, electric eels and then moray eels and stuff like that. Just they're real animals. They might have a more fantasy feel to them, but we're trying to incorporate the education of them. You'll be able to like fight a boss monster and decide like, do I want to donate a certain amount of proceeds to a certain charity, and in return you get a power up for the next stage. So those are the type of things that we love to look and explore to build. We don't want to be just completely all about earnings. We were here to like experiment because these type of things aren't available in Web2 gaming, Web3 gaming. Like you can do these really cool, innovative things that no one's ever done.
So let me just give you an example. So let's say, for example, the boss is a walrus. I defeat the walrus, so I can donate. The donations go through you guys? And do you guys take a cut from them, or is it like 100% of that money is going towards that charity for a walrus organization?
Yeah, we want to be very transparent with how the donations work, and I think that's like really perfect segue for blockchain. So you'll see that there's numerous like charity blockchains right now that offer stuff like, for example, like Ariel itself that lets you see these proceeds going directly on the blockchain. So we'll have that type of transparency. And we'll reward you with in-game utility for these actions that you chose. We also want to work with like the whole aspect of team play as well. So one of the things that I'll leak is that we're building out 4 different types of factions within Anomura, and you'll be able to work with your faction and kind of decide, kind of like almost like a DAO, but more as like a community, like what type of things like really appeal to you. We really want to be really on the strong side of wildlife conservation there.
Awesome. Yeah, I love animals, so this is definitely something that I think would be great in the game. And I think a lot of people don't realize how many species actually are endangered now in the world, right? I was looking at a list that says it grows every year. So I think this would be a great way to bring even awareness, right? Through something that's enjoyable.
Yeah, I think that right now there's just so much focus on earning right now. We don't really care a lot about that earning. We understand that a lot of games in the Web3 space like focus on that to attract an audience. We think it's so much more interesting to see if we have this game that's really enjoyable and can also make you be aware of like these animals that you're playing with as well. Like I don't think a lot of games have very succeeded in that.
So obviously there's a focus here. So where do you project the source of your revenue to come from? Is it going to come from people buying, these power-ups through microtransactions, through loot boxes? What's the strategy? Because this is great, but obviously, your company needs to make money to survive. So what sources of revenue do you have? Yeah,
so our company has already been funded by our Series A with VCs such as TCG, A16Z, Greylock Ventures. So we're really well funded to build out a really meaningful experience. We're here to build out a really meaningful brand as well. Our company has really so many great partnerships with things like Netflix and NASCAR, Atari. We were able to capitalize and grow through these mainstream partnerships. So there's like a lot of opportunities for us to grow through more sales. Obviously, like a lot of these in-game transactions will also go to our treasury as well. We'll be releasing like very transparent roadmaps with all of these.
And just so I understand, your game studio is part of a larger corporation, or are you guys like a startup?
Well, like I think Web3 games are all startups right now, right? There's nothing's been out that long, but
of course, yeah. But there's some like businesses where they're like percentage owned by like Ubisoft or something. So I'm just making sure that you guys don't have any big names like that, right?
On the gaming studio side, we're pretty much like on our own. We built out a really great team that understands Web3, really innovated the concepts of NFTs. We also acquired a 3D studio recently called Spectre Studios. They're building out some 3D experiences for, they have been for like Avengers and the Elvis movie recently. They're building out the really contributing to a game called the Human Park right now. So we're a large studio that's just been building out these games for a while now.
Awesome. Is there anything you want to bring up about your NFTs that we haven't discussed? I think I've covered most of it, but anything that makes you guys unique from other games? Like we discussed that, but the actual technology aspect.
Yeah, I think we're very, we want to be very early pioneers of more smart contract ideas, the ideas of like composability, interoperability. So one thing for sure is different is that a lot of games or a lot of NFT projects have done a lot of drops that serve no utility whatsoever. So like you might have this like this monkey NFT that just gave you a free banana or something, and people are hyped and really excited, and those bananas were worth a lot of money, but they're not. They're kind of completely useless. Our drops have meaning right from the start. Like you might get this really cool banana that you want to equip to your Anomura, for example, and changes the look of your NFT. It can increase the rarity because you now have something that's very unique that you can only have gotten from the game. There could be also experiences outside the game that you can acquire drops as well. That's something we're also looking towards, maybe with our partners, with other Web3 communities. We have that utility that we can build, and we've tested all this stuff. So we're really excited to show how interactive these NFTs are, as well as like how much of new blockchain concepts we can build in.
Absolutely. I'm gonna love to dive into this. So you said you can upgrade these. Like, how does that work on the blockchain? Like, because obviously, you can't modify things once they're on the blockchain. So how do you manage that? Do you destroy the old item? Do you have some type of smart contract that's able to change the rarity of it? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm sort of an Maxi, and I've been playing a lot of these on-chain games, looking stuff like EtherOrcs. Loot Project was a big inspiration, and that's another thing that I've been looking at. Yeah, like Wolf Game. Like, so all these type of games are really on the blockchain, not using any other technologies. And then we're like, honestly, we're trying to define the lines between like how much of this stuff needs to be on the blockchain versus off-chain. So a lot of these attributes that you first get, they'll be on-chain. But when you combine stuff, like we do stuff like we brainstorm, how do we make this so that your image updates? So there could be like a centralized image viewer that shows like an updated image every time. We can put this on chain eventually. So we're looking to put everything on chain eventually, but for now we're just trying to get the visuals down. And also you can verify all these transactions happen. So if you do an equip, you see like the equip transaction pops up on the blockchain, so you can verify that this actually happened, and then there's no cheating that way as well. So these are some really cool ideas we're building out. Another cool concept that I've been toying with is soulbound items. Soulbound items are kind of like really hot right now in NFTs because they're like untradeable NFTs, and you can do stuff like issue a driver's license, which doesn't make sense for you to trade. But soulbound, the concept came from MMOs, where you didn't want to get your legendary sword and then sell it in the market because then your game becomes pay to win. So we're looking to also do stuff like, you just found this item, equip straight to your NFT immediately, and you can't trade it because it's soulbound to your account. So there's some really cool ideas that we're building out.
So essentially what I'm getting at right now, at the current stage, you're not using the blockchain for everything. It's a combination of, Web 2 and Web 3 for now, but your goal is to eventually move most of it to Web 3 on the blockchain.
Yeah, well, as well, we also pay attention to what people actually care about. I think there's a lot of really cool projects that are completely on-chain, and then there's projects that are completely off-chain, and sometimes they could do just as equally well. So it kind of depends on the perspective. We also want to make things like, this doesn't make sense off-chain because you can cheat, you can hack this. So we really care about those main concepts.
Yeah, so let me just give you an example because I'm curious how this would work. Say like I bought a bronze item. Well, I don't know what your rating system works, so just hear me out. So I used that banana that you said, I upgraded it to silver, and now I sold it on OpenSea to someone else. How do you know that that item is a silver item on the blockchain?
So you can do stuff like upgrade attributes on the blockchain. So if I were to do like an upgrading system, I would probably have somewhere recorded where that upgrade action was saved on the blockchain so that you have proof that this item was upgraded once. And then if someone were to look on the history of the item, they saw that this happened eventually. You can also write the smart contract so that, let's say like we have a centralized like wallet that shows that it records all these transactions and has the rights to update that. So you can show that, okay, you updated this item to silver. You have all the stuff you need on the blockchain. Cool, we'll do that. And then when the person buys it, they see the upgraded item.
And it would be like a silver. It would look like a silver item, right, on OpenSea or these platforms.
Yes, it's all possible.
Okay, awesome. So basically, you're doing this everything at the smart contract level, not on the blockchain level, is what I'm trying to gather, right? Your smart contract is updating the blockchain. So, right?
Yeah, it's basically we're defining a set of rules with that smart contract that you can interact with. There's also stuff like upgradable contracts. So we're using a lot of these concepts so that we can build out more of the future game mechanics like crafting, as you mentioned. Maybe we can have like +1, +2, like some upgrading mechanics like that as well. So that once we are building out this game, season 1 might look very different from season 2 because we just added like +1 upgrades or something.
Yeah, I think it is possible. I think the merge would definitely benefit because the gas fees are definitely going to be an issue with these constant interactions on the blockchain. But hopefully, as time goes on, that will be less of an issue.
Yeah, that's why sometimes it makes more sense to do stuff off chain and show that this person has done something even off chain, and eventually bring it onto the blockchain when there's a better solution.
Yeah, I read on a company doing this. Because you mentioned that it takes 15 minutes to mint something in Ethereum. What they're doing is pre-minting. So then they have a pool of items that they pick rewards from. That I guess that could also work in a system like this. So that way you don't need to wait and the rewards are instant until Ethereum eventually catches up, or if it never catches up, you will have the system implemented. Yeah,
that's definitely possible. For things like minting, I know OpenSea has like some certain rules that you're not allowed to do that because like what if I decide to give you the shittiest rarity, kept all the super rare ones for myself?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. OpenSea has that, but if you are implementing your own, you could perfectly do that, as long as you have community trust, then I don't think there should be an issue with that.
Yeah, exactly.
So just shifting the conversation away, from Anomura, because I think we've talked about it a lot. You said that it's going to launch. Is there going to be an open beta before the launch, or is the beta coming out later this year?
Yeah, I'd say we have something called a prototype. Right now we just had this raffle event where people can apply on a spot to do a private viewing. So we have a few testers right now already looking into the game. There's some kinks we're working out like the tutorial. Some games that are like, you get thrown right in there with no tutorial and you figure things out. So we're kind of like experimenting, like how much of a gamer are you in our audience as well. So those things are really fun being tested right now as well. That's
awesome. I would love to test something like this.
For your tutorial, are you going to be, would it just be on your website, or would you have something like a wiki?
Yeah, we're building a small light paper already. I'm building out we have like 100-page game design document. I'm trying to figure out what we can leak out at what times. It's like I said, we've been building this game for nearly a year, full time, and we're taking our time. We want to make sure that this is a great experience right from the first time you view it.
So now pivoting away, where do you see the crypto gaming space in like 3 to 5 years from now? Because obviously now there isn't any big games out. It's a lot of niche ones. Do you see that changing, or what direction do you see the industry heading towards?
I think there's a big traction right now in people switching over to Web3, like big gaming studios, like Square Enix, for example. I love Square Enix games. I grew up playing so many Final Fantasies, and I think that they can be like big leader in building out like full-fledged gaming experiences. I think technology is kind of lagging right now to fill the gap between Web 2 and Web 3. So what I mean is like we're working in Unity. There's not a lot of tools in Unity yet, but Unity is very committed to building out these tools. Microsoft recently invested into something called a player fab, which lets you connect your social sign-ons and potentially your wallet in the future. Google, we've been talking to as well, is also trying to build out more infrastructure to support all these things. Right now, that like I was saying earlier, the Ethereum and stuff is just too slow. If you were to hook up, like switch out your database and put it in blockchain, it just doesn't work right now. But we're moving towards a direction where it can. I think in a few years you'll be playing blockchain games and not even know that it's a blockchain game or a regular game. I think that's where the industry is headed to in about 5 years or so.
Yeah. So speaking of Ethereum, do you see Ethereum remaining the dominant platform for developers in the future? Because like I've been seeing like Polygon, you've mentioned like there's Polkadot, there's other chains that do some things better than Ethereum, but they just haven't been adopted by most because Ethereum was kind of like the pioneer in this space. Do you have any opinions on that?
I think Ethereum is always going to be relevant. That's why we chose them as like our first a blockchain. Zedrun is ran on Polygon, and we've had a lot of great development from the Polygon team and seeing how things have evolved. They, like I said, they announced like the ZK rollup stuff. We're really excited about that to see what we can leverage once that's like fully out. So I see, it could even be a new blockchain that takes the center stage in a few years. Following all the chains are really interested in blockchain gaming. We've talked to like Immutable as well. That's launched out so many interesting games right now. And even stuff like Near as well. We've launched some product from Zedrun on Near as well that we see has gone a long way from a few months ago.
Yeah, because like my opinion on Ethereum is it's kind of like the Internet Explorer, right? Where it's the first one out. It's a very bloated system. It has things that you don't need, has things that you want. So I just see in the future there's going to be blockchains more specialized for different types of things. And Ethereum is going to be kind of like the general network that most people use. But we'll see. No one can predict the future on this. We're still early.
Yeah, I love Ethereum. I just have like the strong attachments to it because of all the first NFT communities I've been part of.
Of course.
My favorite thing that I've learned is just degenerating into NFT collections and projects and talking to founders, getting to know the community. Like it's such a welcoming community.
So obviously there's a lot of people trying to get into the blockchain space. How would you advise someone who's like trying to get into this space or, is currently in like a software engineering role, like not working on blockchain? What would be your advice? Because you've done it, like you worked in finance before, you probably worked in like some traditional tech roles before. How did you make that transition? Was it difficult? And let them know what you think.
Yeah, so I worked as a CTO of an augmented reality company before going to blockchain. I think that what happened was I found smart contracts very easy at the start. It's very low level. It forces you to write really good code sometimes, but I think anyone who's in traditional programming can understand stuff like smart contracts very easily. It just takes a bit of practice. I also think it's important to get to know the blockchain community. I wouldn't have been able to get where I am without just networking in Discord groups and Telegram. That's actually how I got relationships with Binance and other really cool projects that we're partnering with as well. I just literally just keep joining communities like developer DAOs and just chat with other developers, volunteer. We've actually had a lot of people just ask on the Anomura Discord if they can volunteer to help us with stuff. And I'm always very easy and approachable. I'm always there just chatting with developers who just really have a strong interest. I think that most of the community is like that right now. It's just kind of the special things about NFT communities and Web3 gaming communities.
And since you've been in the development space for a pretty long time, have you seen a huge jump since the last bull run of people like trying to get development and interested in developing crypto related products?
Yeah, like for that last like bull run that we had, like the crypto jobs were kind of like blowing the salary ranges out of proportion for Web2 jobs. I saw a big jump in that regard, and a lot of people had made a jump from Web2 to Web3 during that time. And I think that we're going to see the fruits of those development leaders like in the Web3 space in the next couple of years.
Yeah, we're seeing like even like CEOs of like major companies. Like I know Block, if you've heard of him, like their CEO Jack Dorsey is basically diving into blockchain. He's like that's his main focus now. So it's pretty interesting to see how the landscape's shifting towards that direction. So
I also think that in the past few months, it would have been easy to start your own project, launch it, and make money off it. That was something that I find very exciting about the blockchain industry. There's never been really a time where you can just launch a game by yourself, get people to buy it. Like previously, before that, you'd have to get it on Steam and get like people to check out your Steam game, and then build a community. And that was so hard, but it happened at like 100x speed because of the Web3 hype.
Now, so we've had like traditional like bear and bull run markets in crypto that correlate. I've been seeing with the Bitcoin halving events. It seems like. Do you see that trend continuing, or do you see as more mainstream adoption happens with like Ethereum, that's going to kind of decouple? That Bitcoin is going to still do its thing, but Ethereum is going to be more stable?
I think right now there was a time where I found NFTs as kind of like a hedge towards like prices in Ethereum and in Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of trading before, and not as much anymore because I don't have time anymore.
Yeah.
That I find that shift has kind of changed, and the Web3 gaming has kind of like been more corrected towards more of a blockchain again. It'll be interesting to see more shifts as like a new Web3 game takes off and it shows a lot of potential. That can change the way like games behave in proportion to blockchain prices. I see right now it's a lot less, it's more quiet. So the builders are just building right now. They haven't gone away. All these companies have raised like hundreds of millions in funding. They're just completely silent right now. And then what else are they doing other than building? So everyone's just waiting for the right time.
This is a great time to actually get into crypto, because like all the people that were hyped like a few months ago, they've left, right? So if you're actually interested in crypto, it's a great time to connect with someone like Long, join some groups, because you have way less people you're competing against now.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, like I know even for our audience, it spiked, when the crypto was booming. Now only the hardcore people are actually listening to it, which is great, because now it's like the actual people we want are actually listening, right? Not the average person who's just into the newest trend. So I'm sure you're going through that right now as well.
Yeah, like we're pretty committed. We were very excited during the bull market. Right now, it's not as like fun and exciting. Sometimes we wish we could go back in time and launch a few months ago. I'm sure everyone did. But yeah, it's nice that there's no big silly project that just launched and then it's not taking up all the media headlines. It's time for us like we can take the spotlight if we do really well.
Yeah. So one other thing I found concerning in the crypto space is like the average person associates crypto with scam, right? Because I don't know how many times during the bull run I got messages with people saying, "Oh, Bob, help us pump this coin or invest this. It's going to do 100x." How do you combat that, right? Because when you say like crypto is in your game, people are going, "Oh, this game is a scam." They're immediately going to write it off. And how do you change that perception? It's not easy, but what can you do to contribute to it?
Yeah, so the education piece is something we're really focused on. Right, like before it was like so much profits that you could make, so people just ape into things without reading all the things that could be vulnerable. And people have gotten scammed like nonstop. We could take our time to explain like why you need to have a wallet. What is this token that you might buy? What is this NFT? What does it actually mean? How do I view this? All these type of things were kind of like neglected on the education piece. As well, like the wallet connections and stuff, where a lot of people got scammed. I feel we can talk a bit about what we support and why we support this. Yeah, like before we didn't even need to do it because the money was just rampant, right? But now we want to start bringing in more of the mainstream audience again. So we want to be more educational. I think that's like key for all blockchain games and blockchain dApps or whatever to survive, is just focusing on bringing that mainstream audience over.
Absolutely. Like I know like when we do the show, people are like, "Oh, why are you talking about scams?" It's like it's not a scam. Like there's legitimate value here, right? And it's like anyone who's in the space realizes that, but we're the hardcore people, we're not like mainstream users. And it's always been a challenge, right? Getting through to people, because it's like I'm just like, just open up a wallet, set it up. But you're right, just there's no that tutorial aspect. It's just so totally different from what they're used to. And until I'm really interested to see how you guys handle that, right? Getting them to make a wallet, explaining them what it does, what these transactions are, don't share your seed. There's so many things there that moving pieces that I think is complicated. And I think crypto needs to move in the direction of we need to automate some of these processes to make them way easier for people. Obviously for you and me, this is fine, but we need to abstract a lot of that away. Like make it
Yeah.
more like a bank account at a bank, and all they need to know is this wallet's created, I'm sending transactions from A to B, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I found out the big problem with a lot of these blockchain games is like you have these pop-ups that happen, sign this transaction. You're like, what is this transaction? Why am I doing this? And they just click yes because like they don't care, right?
Yeah,
We don't want to have any of that. We just want to have this seamless experience. And if you do have to sign, we want to tell you like you had to sign here because this is what this is actually doing. I think that piece is really important. If we can abstract that away completely, we'll do that as well. So really focusing on creating that user experience is key.
absolutely. Andrew, you had an interesting scenario as well, right? Where you created a wallet and you would get these random smart contracts, right? Or tokens on your account. But that's also a scam. But if you could create a wallet that just filters these out, that also, I think, could stop a lot of stuff. So there's just a lot of things that I think need to be done on the security side to make mainstream adoption much more palatable to most people.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you have a timeline for when you'd like to have your game released on Google Play or the App Store?
Yeah, so I found that crypto right now, it's kind of seen by the app stores and Play Store or whatever iOS store is like they don't know how to treat crypto quite yet because it's so early. It's like, is this a scam crypto app that we're approving? I find that right now, like those publishers need to understand more of smart contracts and blockchain before they start approving them and have a better review process. I think that's what's going on right now. I know the app stores have taken a pretty harsh stance on it. I know certain games have released like test flight versions, and if you want to play this game, you need to go to this special link and download this test flight version. We hate that type of process. We just don't feel like it's safe because I can just write an app and just send you a test flight link and make it steal everything. And so why would I trust someone, like no matter who you are, that to share this link?
Yeah, just so our audience knows, test flight is like the beta version that you can download of an app before it's released.
Yeah. Same with like the Android store and APK files. You can send the actual APK to someone, download this unsafe version that could do anything. We want to be on the official stores to provide security and comfort to everyone. I think it's also key to getting our mainstream audience. So we're facing those challenges right now. I think that's mostly what we're trying to deal with. There's a lot of people trying to get blockchain games on the stores right now. So we're looking to see them how they do. I know there's games like Step In, which did pretty well, although it got banned in certain countries now. We're looking to see like what's the best way to do this safely for everyone. So we are aiming to do this next year. Our game will be playable from the browser. We've also been coding touch controls in so they can be easily ported to any of the mobile devices very easily.
Do you plan to also bring it to consoles as well?
We might have other modes and versions on the consoles because the game is very strategic and kind of requires some complex clicks at sometimes. We're not sure how well it'll be received on the Switch. There's a game that we draw a lot of inspiration from called Loop Hero. Loop Hero is very fun on the PC. It just doesn't really work on the Switch. So we're looking to make sure that the UI and everything makes sense for consoles as well. I think I've played a lot of console ports that just are terrible. So we don't want to jump the gun.
I think the most infamous one is the Skyrim port on PS3. That was horrible. I don't know if you play that.
Yeah, I played a bit of Skyrim, but I'm not a console gamer myself. I have a Switch. I play a lot of my old school games like Zelda on it, and it was really fun. But there's certain games that I just think PC is just better because of the controls.
It is, and then I have a PS5, and it's like I only get exclusives on. And now that exclusives are coming to PC, I'm like, did I waste my money getting a PS5? You know, kind of thing. So I totally agree with you there.
And we have a lot of graphics cards lying around, so it's easy. It's easier for us to game on PC.
Oh, way easier.
And my wife got me a Monster Hunter on PS4 for my birthday, but I didn't really play much on the PS4, and so like I feel really bad for not playing it.
How involved is your wife in crypto?
So funny enough, my wife is a developer, so she understands and comprehends a lot of like blockchain transactions. She is getting into some of the games I play and following along. But I think we work in separate companies, and so we just kind of bounce ideas off each other once in a while.
I feel that, well, it's good that you're always a developer, but I feel that spouses and family members are the first to, worry about you if you're involved in crypto. Because I doubt, where I think your family thought you were doing something illegal when you started mining.
Oh yeah, so I've been mining, and my parents are like, is this illegal activity? Is it like selling drugs? Like, no. Yeah, so that's the immediate comparison that people have. They assume it with criminal activity, but it's like there's nothing criminal about it. Yes, you could say it might not be environmentally friendly. That's a fair argument to make, but nothing illegal.
Oh, tell that to the Tornado Cash developer.
Oh, that's entire scandal right there. What are
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how comfortable you are with this, but what are your thoughts on stuff like Tornado Cash? Like you've seen, have you heard about it?
Yeah, so when I was working with Binance, we took a lot of these exploits very seriously. Like I took complaints from the community. So like BSC, since we're running more than 50% node, we can actually revoke things and turn back time and stuff like that. And sometimes like our crypto audience would be like, why aren't you like undoing these things? And it's because we really want to be decentralized. And so it's important to understand like what's the boundaries of what you can do, and then and how you should pursue like security and such as well. It was an interesting dynamic. But that being said, like I think all these scams and such are also like they're all like, in the middle ground between like, is this necessary for decentralization? It's hard to know. But in the long run, it hurts the community whenever something like that happens.
What are your stance on this? Like some people are in favor of more centralization in crypto. Some people are like, let's keep it decentralized. Or are you somewhere in the middle? What is your stance on that?
Yeah, I think personally, I love decentralization. There's so many things that should be decentralized. It's just that sometimes there's just so much control in certain centralized organizations that make it seem like it's unfair. It can be unfair. And then same thing, vice versa, where sometimes like, oh, this guy just decided to blacklist this community for no reason, and you have no control over it. So I'm kind of in between. In my opinion, I just think that people just need to look out for the best interest of crypto itself, and I think that's the responsibility of developers and such. But you can't count on not having bad actors.
Yeah, there's bad apples everywhere. It doesn't matter what space you're in. So yeah, so because the thing what I'm seeing is like obviously when Ethereum moves, merge happens, it will become significantly more centralized on the exchanges. They'll have a lot more power because people are staking there. So that will be a fundamental shift in how the network works, right? Because we're not just moving from proof of work to proof of stake, and we're also becoming extremely centralized because there's a high barrier to entry in becoming a validator. 32 Ethereum, which if you're in Canada, it's like $64,000 just to be able to, set up a validation node. So because of that high barrier to entry, it's going to price a lot of people out, or they're going to have to join pools with other people, unless you've been mining for a long time and have that power. So obviously that's going to be a change. And we've already seen a lot of discussions, right? Like around censorship of Ethereum, and the developers aren't having that. They want to implement mechanisms to prevent that. But I also see like if the government, wants to sanction certain wallets or says, yes, they have to come down, I strongly believe that they will have to comply. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I'm kind of seeing like two forces battling each other right now in this network. And I don't know what the end result is going to be.
Yeah, I honestly don't know much about the future because it's so uncertain right now.
Yeah.
I do want to see more government institutions more involved with crypto, and for example, scams and phishing. I think that any law enforcement is super well not equipped to handle anything like that right now.
No.
Taxes and such, like they're not like up to par. They need to catch up because it's going to be a problem if they don't. So I think that governments and institutions need to invest in moving more research, establishing themselves as like key leaders and in blockchain themselves.
Like I remember when me and Andrew filed for taxes last year for our crypto, they had like the 2 or 3 paragraphs describing what you could do, and we're like, what the heck is this, right? So so our accountant just basically read it, and his interpretation of it is what we did. Is that right or wrong? Who knows? Only time will tell, right? So it's interesting. I assume you had a similar experience, right?
So it's always embarrassing for me to say it, but I think it's good that I say it, is that I fell for a phishing scam once, trying to mint something. Still a couple of my NFTs that was worth a substantial amount. There's not much I can do about it. If there was something I could do about it, it wouldn't be decentralized, right? So it's a hard pill to swallow, but I think that there needs to be more security mechanisms to be stuff like in the tools with the wallets to see like a scam is happening. But I also, I might as well just call law enforcement to see what I could do. They were so useless, honestly. It was just like, what's an Ethereum? And how do I spell that?
What's crypto?
It was so funny.
Are you comfortable walking us through what happened to you, just as a educational moment?
Yeah, sure. So right now, everything is like being really hyped on Twitter. As much as I don't like bashing on Twitter, there's so much scams going on there, and have been for a long time. Same with Discord, same with Telegram. Everything will have scams on it. So I clicked on a link that was a duplicate Twitter account that had the exact same number of followers. That had it was like something over like 70,000 followers. So this first validation I see that this thing is legit, because it's hard to get 70,000 followers. Maybe not as much now with bots and stuff. And obviously that's what they did. I saw that they had a lot of retweets and such that were from the original account. And the only thing I missed was like there was like an extra S in the name or an underscore or something. And then one of the links was just bad. And then it led me to a duplicate website that was exactly the same as the original website where it was supposed to mint. There was supposed to be an event that happens at exactly like midnight or something. So I clicked on a link exactly at midnight. And what I should have saw was that the transaction pop-ups had these messages that were not from the same deployer. That's where I should have seen that. But when you're like in the heat of the moment, you want to grab the stuff really fast. You can't afford to like even like spend time because it's going to mint out. So you're kind of like in this adrenaline mode trying to rush to buy this thing really fast. It's easy to make a careless mistake with that, and that's what happened to me.
And let's be clear, this happens to everyone. Like I lost my wallet, I forgot, so I didn't write the seed down, didn't have it stored somewhere secure, and I couldn't log back into it. I don't know how much money I lost there, but it was probably like a couple $100. But regardless, you have to experience these things in crypto, I think, at least once, so you actually understand how to take these precautions.
Yeah, like one thing I can recommend was I found this app called revoke.cash. It's a really famous app for revoking access to your wallet from different dApps. I highly recommend everyone to check them out. They also have an extension that connects to your browser and tells you if a transaction is doing something to take out an NFT that you didn't know. So if I had that at the time, this would have prevented it.
What's it called again? Revoke apps?
Revoke.cash.
Revoke.cash. All right. I'm going to put that link in the description of this podcast. I think that'll be great.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Like I pretty much like whenever like someone says like they got hacked or phished, like people direct them to there and just revoke all the places where you authorize access to your wallet.
Awesome. Yeah, so we've touched on Ethereum, like your project. What do you see? Like, obviously regulation is a nightmare right now in crypto. It's constantly changing day by day. How's your company like adapting to that? Because I know, like, for example, one day I was sending over $1,000 and now they need to know where it's coming from here in Canada. So how do you navigate that? Like when it's as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, when it's constantly shifting, the regulations.
Yeah, so it's honestly it's very hard. We're very international, and there's some places where we had to restrict access to our app because we were complying with the government in certain states. So that happened to some of our products. I can't talk too much in granular detail, but we are very fully compliant in working with all the governments, and because we really want to grow as a studio and known for Web3, we're doing all we can to navigate that. I think that's really important to establish credentials in the industry.
What are your thoughts on DAOs? Those organizations that exist on the blockchain, that they're kind of anonymous, decentralized. Do you think that's like a trying to challenge the status quo, like escape government regulation, not pay taxes? Or so do you see them as in a positive way or a negative way? Yeah,
there's obviously a lot of people trying to use it for that way. I don't know like how that's going to go down and when it goes to in the court of law when you say no, you're a DAO, I'm not a person, I can't sue me. Like I don't think it's gonna work.
Yeah.
There's some pretty interesting cases that have happened. Like I've seen DAOs like get out of SAF agreements, and so like there's just a bad taste in people's mouths. Like when we're dealing with DAOs, and you're going to see more of that in the near future, being challenged in court and such. But the good part of DAOs is like I do love the community aspect of them, like voting on things. The problem is that right now I find like DAOs have established a lot of treasury in a lot of DAOs, and sometimes there's not a lot of governance that actually happens now because they've just lost interest. So how do you keep these things moving? It is kind of like something really like we don't know what's happening to all this money that's been soaked up by all these DAOs now. But there are, if a DAO is like truly active, it's really fun to be a part. Like I learned so much about other projects, whether they choose to invest in a new project and they share with the community and they talk a bit about it. They have group calls, all that type of stuff is really good.
Yeah, I always found them interesting. It's kind of like the early days of the internet, those anonymous groups, chats they would have with people. So that's to me like a DAO now. It's like a community of people who have similar interests and just anonymously, working together for a project.
Is that IRC?
What?
I know, like those days.
Or is it IRC chat or something like that?
Yeah, those.
I've been also chatting to DAOs and people from DAOs like all the time on the investment front, and it's interesting when I see a guy's like ETH domain name like pop up in my Zoom call and he doesn't tell me his name. This stuff's happening a lot more often. I've adopted like kind of a persona for Web3 as well. Like I have my NFT avatar on some calls. I'm completely doxing. I just show my face. It doesn't matter to me. But I just feel like it's kind of one of the fun things that as Web3 has kind of created, like the sense of identity through your ENS and your NFT, and then your new persona you can create.
Yeah, it's kind of like our show, Crypto Leviathan. So it's actually like a spider in Oregon. So that's why we took it, because its name is Crypto Master Leviathan. So you know what? This is cool. Let's make it a show. So I guess that's our persona. We actually minted a couple on OpenSea. Just to,
Cool.
So
do you have any games in the pipeline for or do you have any plans to build more than one game in parallel?
Yeah, so I've also helped architect another game called Human Park, which is an interesting sort of like metaverse type of game where you're creating these like avatars called nudes. You call them nudes because they're naked when you're born, but you can put tattoos on your body. We've had a lot of really cool partnerships, so you can get like a Nazuki tattoo or a Bored Ape somewhere, and so like once you do that, you have this really custom look, and then we're creating gaming experiences that we're going to call spaces. So you can jump into this like this obstacle course, run with other nudes, and try to get to the end and win a prize. We are going to build a lot of really cool gaming experiences with this platform. We're using the studio that I mentioned called Spectre to create these really high fidelity assets and then wearables as well. So that's something that I was really excited to build. Right now I'm really focused on Anomura because there's a lot of things as well. Anomura focuses more on the 2D aspect, and there's a lot of space as well in the 2D space as well. So we might be building stuff, like a card game in the future, tie-ins with other NFT communities. I can't leak too much about partnerships, but I'm very excited about a few of them as well.
So obviously you have to build a lot of this smart contract thing from scratch. So one idea I had, have you considered building like some kind of software as a service you can offer so any game developers in the future can use your service that automates a lot of this creating on the blockchain? That way you can monetize that as a SaaS. That also might be an opportunity. Maybe I'm crazy, but that's something I was thinking of.
I've actually heard so many pitches on that type of stuff with
yeah.
Can we integrate this into your game to like log in or something, and it can save you time to get to market. So there's a lot of people like thinking along the same lines. There's no like real leader in any of this right now. There's a lot of options, but I think that space is very ripe right now too.
Yeah, so it seems like to me like right now in crypto, it's like there's so many avenues it's going down, right? We have the financial side, we have the gaming side, we have the like event ticketing side, so like identification side. There's like multiple branches that's going down. So it's going to be interesting to me which is the first one that gets mainstream adoption, right? Obviously, what's your prediction? Do you think gaming is going to go first?
One thing about gaming I like is that it's room to experiment. Like I think the first thing you do when you learn a new programming language is you write a game in it, because that's kind of the fun thing, and you push the boundaries through gaming. So I like that about gaming, and I think that's what Anomura was created for, to try to experiment new things like combining NFTs and locking them to your wallet, and building out solutions to not feel like a blockchain-esque product. And so I think gaming pushes the boundaries with that really well. However, these technologies aren't going to be seen as much as something that's very a big institution like a bank using it one day. I think that's going to happen very soon. It's already been happening with a lot of these exchanges trying to get into that area. It's being challenged a lot with our legal systems right now. And so I think it could be something like that as well. It goes mainstream first.
Yeah, that makes sense. Gaming always is a pioneer of a lot of technologies, right? Like microtransactions, even 3D, how we see the 3D editing right now in movies. I don't know if you've seen you've probably watched the Marvel series, how they recorded basically entirely in front of a green screen. Where do you think that technology originated from? It's from games. The game engines actually created those backgrounds, but they've just souped it up to such a level now that you make them for movies. So I think you're right that innovation is definitely getting sparked from gaming. Same thing we're seeing with deep fakes and these different technologies. They're all originally gaming, right? The reason that this started from gaming is because we try to simulate how a real face would look like in a game. And that eventually got, again, to the point now we can simulate real faces. So I do see a lot of innovation coming from gaming, which is nice.
Yeah, it's one of the things I love about gaming. When I first learned programming, the first game I wrote was Asteroids, and it took me so much time in high school to learn like physics, because I didn't know anything about physics in grade 9 or something. I didn't know trigonometry, which I needed to know to do bullet trajectories. So I get a lot of nostalgic vibes I had from school in this industry again.
Yeah, the first game I wrote was some car racing game. So I really like Lamborghinis. So I created a Lamborghini, like a bird's eye view racing down a track. So that was fun too. And it's when you enjoy doing something, it just flies off, right? You just work on it. You don't even look at the time, right? You're oh, it's late at night. Kind of thing. So I remember those moments. It was awesome. So I would start at 3 p.m. and it'd be 3 a.m. in the morning. I'd be wait, I coded for 12 hours, kind of thing. You probably had that too, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely that type of person. I think some of my most memorable times right now in Web3 was joining in on this new project. Loot was one of the big ones where everyone in the community was just what is this NFT? And everyone's reading the smart contract and everyone's learning what the smart contract was at the same time. And then they're building derivatives. And oh my God, someone made a lot of money because they made a first derivative. And that sparked hype and imagination. That's kind of the most enjoyable parts of Web3 is being able to monetize your creations really fast. Being part of this community that rewards innovation. I think that was the most exciting part of this whole last bull season for me.
We've seen a lot of influencers move into this space, someone like Jake Paul, Logan Paul, creating their own NFTs and brands in crypto. And do you see that doing more harm than good currently in this space? Or do you see that exposing more people? Because they're not selling anything that has some sort of, value. It has intrinsic value as an artwork.
I think that for a while, celebrities just easily can just jump in and make a few $1 million really easily, just by name dropping. I felt like that was harmful. It's good to get some media awareness from that. I think we were on a hype cycle, and that's why celebrities work so well in that time. I think it'd be great if celebrities are joining in now, where it's you don't make actually a lot of money right now just from your name. It's also I don't see them actually active in any of the communities that I followed. It'd be nice to see someone just talking in the community, talking a bit about blockchain. Actually, one of the ones I remember joining was with Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park that created this NFT on Tezos. And I saw him chatting in Discord and defending blockchain and stuff. That was really inspiring to see. So hopefully I want to see more celebrities and then thought leaders do that type of thing.
Yeah, I think Tom Brady's the one who's actually like, legitimately created a business of authentic signatures on the blockchain, which I think is brilliant. So I'd love to see some more celebrities do stuff like him, where it's like they're actually embracing it and seeing the value behind it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Are
Like,
you a South Park fan? Sure, go ahead. Albert.
no, go ahead.
Well, I
Answer
was
that.
asking if you're a South Park fan because they had I think it was like their 2-part special or whatever, and they took a pretty big jab at NFTs, and they mentioned Matt Damon because Matt Damon was doing these commercials for crypto.com saying everyone who listened to Matt Damon lost their money.
Yeah, like I think it's okay. I think any exposure is okay. Like I don't mind South Park's critiques. Sometimes they hit below the belt, but sometimes they're legitimate. Like there's so many projects that just were completely scamish, and I don't blame so much of the media for hating on those type of things. Like obviously, I'm not doing it, and I believe in technology, but I can't help but understand why people hate it as well.
The easy way I tell people to identify if a project is a scam, if there's no face to the business, then it's probably a scam, right? Most people who put their faces out there, who are putting their own reputation on the line for a project, that's probably not a scam. It could be, but that person's going to get burned for the rest of their life, right? So that's my barometer usually. And the fact that you're willing to come on, talk, and you can talk about the product comfortably, you've been involved in the community, and you're willing to show your face, I think, like, how can you not be credible? I feel if you were trying to scam me, I would have a hard time believing it, just based on like simple things that people do.
It is scary, especially if your project fails. People are going to lose money if they invested into your NFTs or token or whatever. I think that's like a big fear of like a lot of developers. I'm scared of it myself, but I think it's okay as long as I show the community that we're always building this. It was accidents are going to be made. I think the crypto community is actually more okay with that than other communities. Like if you're a game and you built a really bad patch or something, people hate on you for a while. But in crypto space, that's like an everyday thing where like your mint didn't go well. It's okay. Like start again tomorrow. Maybe you lose some customers, but they're kind of easier to forgive and let you test more grounds.
So obviously, like, you ventured into entrepreneurship. What are some of the challenges you've seen? Like, how many startups have you done before you had, successful one that you're running now? And how is the journey like? Because I know a lot of people are interested in that as well.
Sure. So, for me, like growing up, my family is like came from Vietnam, with barely any money coming to Canada. So going into something like gaming was always kind of taboo. Like obviously, my parents wanted to be a doctor. They go the way, and like for me, I really had to prove myself that I can make it in the gaming industry and take traditional jobs all along the way. And I'm also really much someone I think I learned from games, like I can keep trying, keep failing, and keep trying again. That's like something I've learned from grinding in video games. I'm completely okay with that. So I've had maybe like 10 jobs before this. I'm in my 30s now, and I think every single job I've taken, it's a lot harder in the tech industry right now because people switch jobs like no tomorrow.
Mhm.
But I think like I took my lessons from each job I took. I was a front-end developer for a bank. I worked as a project manager for an insurance company. I worked at a director role for software as a service that had clients like Yahoo and Reuters. Then I took a CTO job at augmented reality company using surgical simulation tools to predict like surgical outcomes, which is really cool. But I saw the challenges of like what it's like to penetrate the healthcare industry, and so there's a lot that I learned from all these lessons. And but the main thing I think I learned was like how to bring a team together. I saw what leadership lacked, and I wanted to build myself after what I felt what type of leader I wanted to be for myself.
Yeah. So you've been through a lot. What big bank did you work at? Because I used to work at BMO. I imagine. Did you work there as well?
Yeah, so I did work at BMO.
There we go.
Oh yeah. So I created this like at one point, like I tried to have fun with my team, and I put the Konami secret code into our mortgage webpage so that you can highlight the mortgage rate. So it was hard for me as a developer to update the rates because I don't know how many there are. It's just all over the page. So that was a really fun thing that I did, and I think that's probably like updated now, but you might still see some CSS code that I put there.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I think every developer who's from Toronto had to have worked at BMO at some point. Everyone I talked to is like, yeah, I worked at BMO before. What is it? It's like this.
I worked at BMO as well, but it was at the
There you go.
during school though. It was I was a teller at the branch, so never in dev.
Mhm.
Everyone's worked there apparently.
Yeah, there's some really fun things I've learned. Mortgage rates, for example, no one knows the formula, like how they get approved for what. As a developer, I had to figure it out for the site, but I went through everyone to figure it out. It's like, I don't know, the computer does it. That was the answer.
Even the discount and everything, that's how you figured it all out.
I went on a hunt to figure it out because I just wanted that formula so I can like put it in a new programming language or something, but no one knew. So these are the things that banks have to face with. I also worked for a TD Bank. One of the coolest projects I kind of the freelance for was like I had to create a game to educate people on cross-border banking. So I made this pixel art game done in HTML5 where you hand people like the pamphlet and you guys figure out which guy you hand the pamphlet to get points or something. And then I had arguments where like, oh, this game might be too fun. So you're distracting too much employees from this. And I'm like, what? Isn't this the point of this? Yeah, that was
Banks,
fun.
man,
Though.
you gotta love them. It's too fun. You'll hear that nowhere else.
Where did you go to school for computer science?
Oh, I went to the University of Toronto.
Nice. And knowing what you know now, do you think that was a mistake, or do you think that was very helpful? Going back, would you have, gone to university?
I met a lot of good friends. I was pretty close to my professors as well. So good relationships through that. In terms of like the skill set I needed to succeed, maybe not. I felt like everyone kind of matures at going to university in Canada. But in terms of like what you need to be equipped to write programming code, maybe not. I think also when I'm hiring right now, I look for more of your skill set. If you can actually program and do this type of code that I need, hands-on experience is worth way more than an education right now.
Yeah, we also have a similar opinion because we both went to school. I went to school for business and computer science, and Andrew also went to school. And looking back on it now, we're like, it was great, like you said, for the networking aspect. Did it prepare us for the workplace? I don't really think so. And so like, even if we end up running companies one day, we're definitely going to take that into consideration where it's going to be based on your skills, not your degree. And I think we're in a transition period right now where that's becoming increasingly the norm.
Yeah, I care much more for experience and then just seeing how capable you are to figure out solutions yourself. I think the number one skill any developer goes through is learning how to Google.
Yes.
During my BMO interview, actually, they asked me to create this like rotating triangle in person in front of like 20 people. And it's very memorable to me, but I Googled how to do that in front of them and pasted the solution like in their code pen in front of them. And this is how you do it. And I got a lot of laughs, but I thought that was very practical, like how I would actually do it.
Yeah, and exactly, you're right. And like even that's how coding tests should evolve. You should just get a problem in the interview, be like, use Google, use whatever, right? Because if you're gonna do that during your job anyways, it doesn't make sense to test you, on you can't Google anything, draw on a whiteboard. That makes no sense anymore. That's not how you code.
You still need to know how to code in order to even use those snippets that you find. So
Yeah.
it doesn't, yeah. Were you using Stack Exchange and Stack Overflow?
Of course, I wish I talked more on them, but I was too lazy to do that. To be honest, I'm more of like a person that just like figures out everything he needs to do to deploy the actual solution. One of my hardest challenges with entrepreneurship is not taking everything 100% of the way. Sometimes like you were building a video game, for example, and you don't know how to make this error go away, and you throw your mouse or something and you walk away. It's easy to get into those situations, but much harder. It's like you're stuck on this one problem that's very stupid, and you take 2 days of staring at to fix that problem. I've encountered a lot of that in my past, and being resilient enough is really important.
Yeah, that's one thing like I've learned as well through experience is like those minor bugs. Yeah, just document, report them, but focus on the bigger picture stuff, get it released. It's always you have to assess the impacts, right? If it's a small percentage of people, Are we willing to tolerate that? If yes, let's just move on. And it's tough because as a developer, you develop that perfectionist mindset. I want my code to be perfect. I want the execution to be perfect, but that's not how code works in reality. You know, there's always going to be bugs. Anytime you introduce a new feature, there's going to be new things that break, old things that break. So developing like that mindset of this is always a work in progress, I think it alleviates some of those problems.
Yeah, I think also recognizing when people get into these problems and not tell you is also important. There's a lot of like reading in between lines. Like I knew what it was like to be demotivated because you couldn't solve something that another person can solve in a few minutes. Like it happens to everyone, and there's a lot of imposter syndrome going on, especially with remote working and then how fast tech jobs are moving right now. That I think it's important to recognize and be a good leader in that regard as well.
So obviously even in tech, and I love as you asked the remote working question, we're seeing a transition from like in-person work to remote work. There's some companies that are resisting it, you know, Google, Apple. Do you see that remote work is going to become the norm for tech workers, or do you see that there's going to be a push to the office, or some companies will do in person, some will do remote?
Again, like it depends on the people, honestly. Like I've only worked remote for the last like few years, so I know that we can be very capable. Obviously this is my project, so I will work very hard on it, but I also strive to inspire people to get their work done on time, and then I'm there just like as kind of like a presence and as a friend a lot. I think that's also very, very key. Sometimes people treat a job like just do the bare minimum, and it's a lot easier to get by on a remote job. So these are some of the more nitpicky challenges that we have to like overcome with remote working. But I think these are all kind of solvable based on management and how you scale a company and who you hire.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I found like when you're working remotely is you like, especially need like a strong mentorship aspect. And I don't mean like, you know, you don't need someone monitoring you, checking upon you. You need someone to basically say, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is where I want to go in my career. And I think that was really lacking in a lot of companies, even in person, but especially now with remote work, now it's even more lacking, that just, you know, mentorship aspect, right? So I think that's much more important when it comes to remote work, especially for junior developers.
Yeah, for me, I've had some really good leaders that are just really inspiring to me, and it just makes you want to work a lot harder when you see someone like work so hard to fix the problems that they're very transparent, everyone sees. And I think it's very important to show a lot of that type of leadership, to be like unafraid to confront the small details and just unblock problems for people as well.
Yeah, like the problems most people encounter, it's not because they're not capable, it's because of their mindset, I find. It's because, you know, like I don't think I'm capable, so that translates into your mindset where you don't want to do it, right? It's like you need to unlock your limitations you place on yourself to actually move up to the next level. So like my mentor tells me that all the time when I message him about something. He's like, you're just self-imposing this restriction on you, and you have to overcome those mental barriers that you've placed around yourself, which I think is the most important way to grow as an individual.
Yeah, I also owe a lot of my success to I talk to a lot of people. Like I have a life coach that kind of asked me like some questions that basically I ask these questions to myself. It's like, what do I want to create? Like what's wrong with like the method that you're doing right now? How do you solve it? And like really, like these are questions I should be asking all the time, but having someone to just tell you straight up, and then you realize like the solution's always like right in front of you. Like, can I like quit my job as CTO to do a Web3 startup? Can I financially support myself? And you wouldn't ask that unless like you sit down and you think about it, or you talk to someone. So these are some of the tough questions I had to ask myself, and I go through it like every day as an exercise to even though it's like very obvious I should be asking them like constantly, it isn't unless you spend the time to think about it.
Yeah, like we also run like a crypto mining business. We've had a bunch of stresses, you know, ups and downs, and it's really tough, you know, as an entrepreneur, because like you have those really great highs and you have those really big lows, you know, as things go up and down. How do you manage that? Like I've tried to develop some strategies, but I want to hear you, like, because you obviously run a company of 100 employees, so it's much more stressful than what we experience.
Yeah, there's a lot of anxiety. Like the market, for example, is definitely causing a lot of it. But I think that having a good network with people, like make sure that I talk to my friends a lot. Sometimes, like especially during like remote working and staying at home for COVID and stuff, that you kind of get into an isolation state. For me, having a personal network where I chat with my friends, having them support me, it works well for your mental health. I have a dog I go for walks with all the time. Just having these resources to help you cope is important. And being aware, it's basically just being aware that this is a time of anxiety. That's going to happen, and there's going to be a time of happiness. It will happen eventually.
Awesome. So we're close to wrapping up here. I'm just going to ask you one more question, and then if you had to give some advice to someone who's just out of high school, just out of university, wants to get into blockchain or wants to be an entrepreneur, what would you tell them?
I think that they should just be building things. Like for me, I was so motivated. So I built video games all through my life. I just sometimes built a game that only my wife plays and only my wife has seen. And then I just don't even deploy it. But I think it's a good exercise to fully complete things. And that's really important in entrepreneurship. If you want to create a company, to know and take that company all the way to fruition, it's not a small endeavor. So I think like being able to complete certain tasks like 100% is kind of the thing that you need to overcome. It could be stuff like running a club in school, getting your club to be like as far as it can. I started like the esports club at University of Toronto, and I'm pretty proud of it. It wasn't hard, but I enjoyed it. So I think also finding your passions like that as well.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I think failure is important. Don't be scared. Like we had a failed startup, me and Andrew, we did one like out of university. It happens, but yeah, I think it's a better teacher than actually success. So when success happens, you take your failures and you learn from them. So that's definitely important.
I just want to add one more thing is that I think my success is also just the fact that I tried so many times and failed so many times that one of these things is gonna like hit it. Like I don't see any other way other than the mass grinding, and it's exactly the same as video games. Like you're gonna lose 20 matches in a row in League of Legends, and then the next one you can win. It's not always because of you.
Yeah, like I use a perfect example. I used to play the Ninja Gaiden from like 2006, 2007, super difficult game. And I would die like 30 times on a boss match, but eventually I'd beat it. And you know how satisfying it felt, 30 times in a row failing, and that last time beating it, you felt, and that's the feeling in a business, same thing. You're gonna have a lot of failures, and one thing is gonna feel super successful. And I'll just wrap it up right here. Do you want to give people ways they can reach out to you or get to know you more in case they want interested in working with you or want to learn more about the game or invest potentially?
Sure. So I think the best place is just following us on Twitter at Anomura Game. That's our Twitter handle. You can also message me directly on Twitter at whale_drop. And you'll find me in the Discord for Anomura Game as well. Our company website is vhslab.com. And you have links to everything there as well as like our LinkedIn. I also check that if you're ever wanting more of the career advice side. So yeah, happy to chat with everyone.
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure to have you on this show. We wish you the best, and we're looking forward to being customers of your game. I think that'll be actually players.
For sure.
All right. Take care.
All right. See you.